Hey everybody, Duncan here with a reminder to send in your guesses for last week's Secret Sound competition. The first person to get it right will win some fantastic science-related prizes. In case you missed it, here's what it sounds like. Wow!
Was that enough?
What a sound!
That was a good sound.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic.
So, what's that sound? That's quite a racket, isn't it? Send in your guesses to twist@fizzicseducation.com.au or go to our Facebook or Instagram pages and leave a comment on the post for this episode. Can't wait to hear what you come up with. All right, let's get started. G'day, Quill.
Hey, Duncan, how you going?
So good. It's been a very interesting week in science.
It has indeed.
Yeah, we got some very interesting stories
Fantastic.
that we want to bring to the listeners.
Excellent.
This week. You could say that it's going to be an interplanetary episode because the stories come from many different planets.
Ours.
And another one.
That's okay.
Just another one.
That's two planets.
So, in this episode of Fizzics TWIST, what we're going to do is just a little bit of an update on one of the previous episodes, which was, was a little bit of a special edition episode, that one. Because that one, as you may recall, was all about the Mars rovers Opportunity and Curiosity.
Yeah, and it was
Mars.
a very special episode.
It was very special.
Very good.
So we learned in that episode that Curiosity has been doing some amazing science up there. And there's a dust storm.
Yep.
That was going on Mars. And Curiosity is fine up there because it's got its own sort of nuclear power generator. So it can just, keep pootling around, no problem at all.
Maybe just quickly, in case some of our listeners are fresh in or have forgotten since then, how about a little quick brush up for them of what Curiosity is and what it's doing up there?
So Curiosity is a Mars rover.
Yes.
Yeah. And effectively it's up there to investigate if the environment of Mars could ever have sustained life.
Okay, so it's a little robot up on Mars.
It's not little, it's huge. It's like the size of a Mini Cooper. That thing's massive.
But that's not that big in terms of robots. So it's like a little car-sized robot that's doing lots of tests to see whether we could potentially move to Mars.
Yeah. Well, the main thing is to find out whether it could have ever had life on it.
Yep.
And then sort of its next objective will be, can we put humans there?
Okay.
Is that possible?
Yeah, fantastic.
Anyway, so that's Curiosity, and that's been driving around using its nuclear power generator. There's another one which is older that landed in about 2004 called Opportunity, which is not nuclear powered. It's actually powered by solar panels.
Okay.
And as I mentioned, there's been this huge dust storm covered all of Mars, and that's kind of a problem when you're running off solar panels.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what it did is it completely blocked out the sun.
Oh,
Solar, sun. You see
Not
the problem,
good.
right?
Yeah.
Not good at all. So all of a sudden, Opportunity is getting no light to power itself, and that's a massive problem. So it kind of went into hibernation mode for a little while.
Yeah.
But not only was the sun actually blocked out, but all of that dust eventually settled, and it settled on those solar panels.
Oh no.
Yeah, and so as the storm is clearing, it doesn't really help because that dust is still on the solar panels. There's not much you can do about it except for wait for a sort of dust devil to come along and clean it off.
So you're just waiting for some wind to blow it away.
You're waiting for wind to blow it
Space
away.
wind.
Yeah, exactly, because there is wind on Mars.
And there's no dusters up there.
There's no dusters.
We don't have a duster that's cleaning our solar panels off.
Exactly. We just need...
Grandma's not up there with the duster.
Just lift your legs up, sweetie.
Dust under the couch on Mars. Okay, so we
should have just covered it in plastic, like they do with those couches. That would have been much better.
But then they still would have needed to take that plastic cover off.
Yeah, true. Oh,
and it would have been uncomfortable forever.
It's a difficult problem, isn't it?
It is. Okay, so that's
where it's at.
Pretty much kind of lost this fantastic robot because it's
that's
dusty.
the update. That's the update, right?
Yeah.
Is that it's been such a long time. I think the special edition episode came out more than a month ago, and we're still in the same predicament. So I think the dust storm has actually it's gone now, but then the dust is still on those solar panels, and so NASA's been trying to contact Opportunity, sending it signals saying, "Hey, when you're ready, can you just check in?" Because what's going to happen is, just give us a call.
Yeah, when you finish
we
dusting.
miss you. We know you're busy. Anyway, so they're basically saying, look, when you've woken up, just give us a call.
Just let us know.
And it's waiting for the sun to hit that solar panel so it can come out its hibernation mode, and, ET phone home after that. But it's still not doing it.
I wonder, hopefully, can start to build up a little bit, and maybe eventually have enough to kind of kick in. And then it might move, and then that might get rid of some of that dust.
Exactly. Yeah. But then there's another problem, which is that, it's solar powered, but it has to be kept a little bit warm. Oh. Okay? And so on board, because Mars is cold.
Yeah.
Like really, really cold. So in order for the batteries and everything to actually work at all, it has to be kept a little bit warm. So there's actually some plutonium on board, which as it degrades, creates heat.
Right.
But that's not going to last forever.
No.
And eventually those batteries will become so cold that they just will not work anymore. Yeah. So it doesn't matter if the solar panels are being activated by the sun, it can't recharge the batteries. Oh, no. So now, unfortunately, it looks as though Opportunity may not wake up at all. Now, this is really not
It'll
the
be a
happy
lost
ending.
opportunity.
Ah! Yeah.
Is that what you were going to say?
No. That was really good, though. That's not the happy ending that I wanted for this story. I wanted to be like, great news, everyone.
Yeah.
Special edition episode 2, but no, it doesn't look like it's going that way.
No, that's a shame. Yeah. And it's such a waste of a really good resource too.
Well, here's the thing.
We need to send another robot up with a duster.
Exactly. Yeah. New opportunity.
Yeah.
So, you can look at the sad part, which is that it's potentially dead.
Yeah.
But then there's positives, You've got to celebrate its life because it was only supposed to be there for 90 days.
Okay.
It turned 15 the other day.
That's pretty amazing.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So
that's an old robot.
It's really old in robot years because I think there's like 10 years in every robot
ready
year.
for robot time. And I'm on fire today.
That was good. Nice. So there we go. We may have lost Opportunity, but a life well lived.
Yeah. So good on you, lost Opportunity. Fantastic. Well, not fantastic, but interesting.
Interesting nonetheless.
Yeah.
Should we move on to story number 2?
Well, let's talk about story number 2. Now, this one, I actually think is a really interesting one. And we pulled this one up because you went to Jervis Bay recently.
Is it Jervis or Jarvis?
I don't know. I actually say it differently every time I say it.
Well, me too, because every time I read it, I'm like, Jervis Bay.
Yeah.
No.
I'm pretty sure it's Jarvis Bay.
I think you're supposed to say Jarvis, yeah.
But the spelling's really...
It's tricky. It's kind of like Greenwich, Greenwich Mean Time. Clearly, it says Greenwich.
Yeah.
And you just have to trick yourself every time. So
the English language is a brutal thing.
Oh, it's terrible.
It's very messed up. Yeah. Anyway, because you went to Jervis Bay, I remembered I'd been to Jervis Bay a while ago, and when we were there, we were actually very lucky, and we saw bioluminescence. We saw the sparkles, the glowing in the sea, and it was really fantastic. And then, as I was thinking about that, and hoping that you had a great weekend spending some time down Jervis Bay, actually there was a story out about Jervis Bay and about this bioluminescence.
Can you explain for the listeners what exactly bioluminescence is?
Absolutely. So bioluminescence is basically like things that are glowing in the dark, right? But normally when we have something like our glow-in-the-dark stars that you might have stuck on your roof, what we're doing is they're actually taking in light from their surrounding environment and they kind of get excited. So the little molecules inside take in some light, that gives them some energy, they get excited, and then they kind of hang out in this new space, but an excited space, but eventually they relax back down. So basically, we can't stay excited forever. You know how we get excited?
Yeah, but you just crash.
You've got to crash down. Yeah. So when they crash down, they actually give off light. Okay?
Right. Oh,
that's how normal fluorescence works, but bioluminescence is a little bit different.
Oh.
In fact, this one is a chemical reaction that is going on inside a biological molecule.
Super cool.
Inside some kind of animal or plant or algae or something like that. So they're actually got some chemicals inside of them that have a reaction, and this reaction gives off light.
Awesome. So at Jervis Bay, what was the animal that was giving off?
So the one at Jervis Bay is called a sea sparkle. And the sea sparkle is also called the Noctiluca. Noctiluca.
Oh, no, I
don't know how to pronounce this one.
Noctiluca.
Noctiluca, that's the one.
Noctiluca? Noctiluca.
Noctiluca, I like the sound of that. Scintillans. Okay? So that is basically, that's the sea sparkle.
Yeah.
Okay? So
which is an algae.
Let's just call it a sea sparkle.
Yeah.
It's much easier. Anyway, the other name is its Latin name. It's a technical science name. But sea sparkle sounds pretty good.
Does.
Basically, these sea sparkles are little floating single-celled algae or a plant kind of plankton, and they give off this light when they are moved around. So basically, the chemical reaction happens as they get moved. So what we've done when I was there before is you go down and kick the sand where the water's just been, and it actually starts to glow.
That's amazing.
So it's actually really, really cool.
Hold on, you kick the sand, and why does the sand glow when you kick it?
So you want to kick the sand right where the water's just come in. So you're basically kicking the water because the algae is going to be floating on the water.
Okay.
And as the tide comes in and the waves come out, there's going to be little bits left. So if you kick the sand right where the water's really shallow, you're going to have the algae concentrated on the top.
Gotcha.
And when you kick it, you're adding that energy, and that initiates it.
And that starts that sort of chemical reaction inside. Yeah. Super cool.
So it's really cool. And so when I was there, it was only a little bit. But
so it glows. And what colour does it glow?
Different ones can glow in different colours. So sometimes they'll go blue.
Yep.
And this one that's down at Jervis Bay was apparently glowing blue. And the colour that they glow is also a little bit to do with the chemical reaction as well. And these ones will go blue, but you can get other ones that will glow kind of a greeny kind of colour as well.
Nice one.
But these ones were glowing pretty cool and pretty blue. If you think that's pretty cool, go and check out one of the videos or something of people doing it.
Oh, definitely. I didn't even think of looking at a video.
Yeah, the videos are really awesome.
If I can find a good video, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That'd be awesome. So looking at, I just pulled up the photos then, it's like this awesome electric blue.
Yeah, it's
isn't
pretty
it?
amazing.
And the fact that that comes from something in nature
Very cool.
that's, in the fauna world is incredible because it's the same colour as lightning.
It does.
Basically.
It looks like lightning, little tiny lightning jumping around.
That's beautiful.
It's pretty amazing.
So I was at Jervis Bay when this was happening.
Yeah.
Didn't get a chance to go down to the beach.
Oh dear.
It wasn't in the area that I was staying. I was staying sort of, I don't know the geography very well, but just in this sort of like lake area, I guess you'd call it. And it looked very different. Yeah. Very, very
different. That's a shame.
Yeah.
It is very cool to see if you get a chance to see it.
Yeah. So apparently you can find it in other places like near Hobart, Tasmania as well. So
probably just I guess the way the tides come and stuff like that to bring certain ones.
So you might get lucky if you live around Jervis Bay or Hobart.
Check it out. I'm sure you probably have seen one if you live around Jervis Bay.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty amazing. You know what I've always wanted to see?
What's that?
Fireflies.
You've never seen fireflies?
I've never seen a firefly.
You know what? I don't think I've seen fireflies either.
You've just seen it on a movie or something.
Yeah,
I thought you'd
so.
really seen it.
Yeah. It's like, I remember fireflies.
I'd like to see a
I don't
firefly.
actually think I've ever seen them properly.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking about dragonflies. That's what I was thinking.
I've seen
heaps of
dragonflies, but they don't glow in the dark.
Not at all.
No.
They're boring. They look kind of cool, but they're no firefly.
No, I really like to see a firefly.
Yeah. Do they travel in swarms?
I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like is it a common thing in Australia? I feel like it's always in American movies when you're a kid and they're camping and stuff.
I've seen it in Japanese movies.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, interesting.
Maybe we'll do something on fireflies next week.
That'd be cool.
Or in a little while.
Maybe a couple of weeks from now. All
Excellent.
Right. All right, this one's super weird, but super interesting. So, as you know, we are humans. Can we
Some
agree?
days.
We are humans. We are humans. And we have a scientific name, which is Homo sapiens. Yes? Now, it turns out that there's actually other species in the Homo genus. So it's like, we're kind of like a family.
Yeah.
Think of the Homo genus as being like a family.
Yeah.
So we have brothers and sisters and cousins in this genus, okay? And there's other species. So, for example, there's ones called Homo habilis, Homo rudolfensis, Homo erectus is another one.
And that was when we first started standing up.
Exactly, yep. Hence the erectus, meaning upright. Homo heidelbergensis. That's a good name, isn't it? Heidelbergensis.
It's an interesting one.
So it's quite a big family, as it turns out. There's another one called Homo neanderthalensis. So that's Neanderthals, which you probably have heard of.
Yeah.
They're commonly depicted as very much ape-like. Cavemen sort of thing,
Now, just to clarify for our listeners, most of these different species of the Homo genus. We think that these usually exist in different time periods, right? So we don't think there's much time when there's lots of different kinds of humans hanging around.
There would have been some times when there were
A little bit of overlap.
a little bit of overlap.
Yeah.
So there could have been at one time about 6 or 7
Yeah.
different species of,
Yeah.
within the Homo family.
But now it's not so much.
Well, now there's
Yeah.
one.
Now there's one.
Which is just
so it's
us.
not like having a dog where you got lots of different kinds of dogs.
Exactly.
But they're all
Yeah.
still dogs. We've only just got us kind of humans.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah, similar to us. So, what happened recently is that scientists actually discovered a sort of an ancient teenager, or the bones of a teenager.
Must be a very, very old.
4,000-year-old teenager. You're not a teenager at all.
Young at heart.
They discovered the bones of this girl who died when she was about 13. And they found that by doing sort of a study on her genome, and we've talked about genomes before, but maybe you could give another sort of definition of it, found out that she had parents, one of whom was a Neanderthal, her mum was a Neanderthal, and her dad was called a Denisovan.
Okay.
And Denisovans are, again, they're another type of species, an ape-type person inside of the sort of human family.
Yeah.
So she's a little bit of both, which
Okay.
is super interesting. So that tells us that not only did they exist at the same time, but also that they were, hanging out together.
Okay, so they were interbreeding. They were mating.
And they were interbreeding,
Yeah.
And so also that they were able to do that, which is super cool. You want to know an interesting fact about the Denisovans?
Yeah.
They were discovered in a cave by a guy called Dennis. That's why
I went to go see Dennis. I like it. When am I going to have the Quillovans?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so basically what we've found is, so the genome, if we're not quite sure, basically what we're looking at is all the little tiny things, our DNA, which makes us who we are. And they studied her DNA from her bones, and they found that she has both the kind of genetics, so she's got DNA that both comes from her dad and her mum, but that what they've seen in there is actually that she's got 2 different species of parents.
Precisely.
So there's 2 different kinds of humans.
Yeah, because like we talked about in the last episode with the potato chromosome thing, you get half of who you are from your mum and you get half from your dad. So if you want a good explanation of how that sort of stuff works, I think go back to the last episode because we did a pretty good job.
We went into more detail.
Yeah, exactly. So this girl who they've given her a great name, Denisova 11.
I was going to say, is it like Dennis Amina or something?
Denisova 11.
It's a great name.
Or they've nicknamed her Denny, which is a bit better.
Yeah.
Denny's pretty good.
Denny's not bad.
Found her, I think, also in that cave. It was a cave in Siberia.
Okay. And so this is really interesting because a lot of what we know about a different species and stuff is that a lot of them don't interbreed. So they might be around at the same time, but you don't see this kind of like weird half this, half that. So we don't really have things like a panther and a lion interbreeding.
Yeah, exactly.
Example,
Or
but
like
they're
a
both
cat
big
dog.
cats, right?
Yeah.
So you don't see that. Like you don't see this weird, cool, black panther lion with a mane, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Actually, can I just jump in for a second?
Yeah.
You do actually see those.
Not very often.
Not very often, but they do exist. So
And
like
often-
ligers.
Like I was about to say,
Yeah.
often what happens is they're actually sterile.
Exactly.
So they're unable to breed again, which is why you don't then suddenly see this species becoming a new kind of species.
Totally.
Because they just make one baby and that baby's unable to breed and create its own
Precisely,
new half
So
liger species.
we don't live in Pokemon land,
No.
unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
That'd be nice. I don't even know if Pokemon do that. It's been such a long time.
I don't. But I really would like a cat dog.
Wouldn't that be great? Well, that's why they had a TV show called Cat Dog back in the day.
Yeah. I used to love that TV show.
But
Bit old for the audience, I'm sure.
Yeah. But yeah, pretty cool. So that tells us, Neanderthals and Denisovans were interacting, living in the same sorts of areas.
Yeah, wow.
Potentially for a long time before they disappeared. And luckily, Homo sapiens, which is us, we are the best. And we survived.
We did survive.
We beat out everyone else.
Yeah, and by the sounds of it, there's very few of these Denisovan
because they've
fossils around.
only been discovered in a cave.
Yeah.
One cave. So
In one place.
In one place.
Yeah.
So we know by looking at those bones, you can analyse the bones and look at like bone density and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you can tell that it's actually a different species just by looking at the shape of it.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, you can study their genome.
Yeah, wow.
And that gives you a sort of
Gives you a bit of a snapshot of what's going on.
Yeah, a really good sort of, how would you describe it? Well, it's their DNA.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
So by analysing it, it actually will tell you, no, they're different enough to be a completely different species. But also, they are our brothers and sisters in a way, or our cousins.
Or maybe like our great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents.
Potentially. No, they're not grandparents because we don't
didn't
come from them.
That's true.
Yeah. So they're like our cousins.
So like your great-great-grandparents are friends.
Totally. It's kind of like, they would be like the cousins of your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents.
Right.
With a few more greats in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how that would work, I think.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
It's pretty
I
cool.
think I like to think that we would have been friends.
I reckon.
Had you and I been around 50,000 years ago, we would be great friends with Denisova 11.
Okay.
Well,
Well.
one more thing that you wanted to bring up
Oh,
was...
of course.
Was
The fact of the week.
Dun, 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 dun.
I mean,
Perfect.
that was a new one. I added that sound in.
You're so musical.
I know. I'm a musical talent. So this week's fact of the week has come from an actual question that I had from a kid yesterday when I was out at a school. And I was doing one of our really interesting programs, which is a flight and weather program. And this one has a lot to do with air pressure.
Oh, yes. Interesting topic by itself.
Yeah, it is an interesting topic. Now, air pressure is really important. And it's important in a number of things. It's important in how things fly, but it's also important in how weather systems form.
Yes.
So what we did is we did our workshop on weather predominantly. And I did get a question from one of the kids about where rain comes from and how clouds form and this kind of thing. And I thought it would be an interesting fact of this week.
I'm interested to find out the answer.
Okay, so the question I had was, does rain fall from the holes in the clouds?
Right, the holes in the clouds.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I think is, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I always imagined a cloud to be solid object, but it was kind of squishy. That if I really, really got high up in the sky, I could have a nap.
Like a
on
cotton ball.
Like a cotton ball.
Just chilling up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I always envisioned. Like whenever you're flying in a plane, you look at it and go, wow, I can have a great sleep out on that cloud. It looks
But
really
then
comfy.
sometimes you fly into a cloud and you're like, whoa, what's going on?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, fair enough question, and it's great when we ask questions, especially if we don't understand what's going on. So, does rain fall from holes in the clouds? And of course, the answer is actually no, because the cloud's not a solid thing. So, a cloud actually is basically floating overhead, and this contains lots of water vapor. Okay, now, so just little tiny bits of water, in essence. And these are really, really small. So, these droplets are too small to fall as rain.
Okay.
It's like if you've got a mist, it doesn't really fall as big droplets, right?
It's just gas, isn't
It's just
it?
kind of hanging out up there, but really, really tiny. Now, what can happen, though, is we know that the water's constantly evaporating and going up and then kind of falling back down as rain and that kind of thing. So basically what happens is we've got this really fine mist, so basically this water vapor. And when we have these water vapor molecules, they kind of run into each other and we can get changes of pressure, so whether the air's moving fast or slow, whether there's a lot of air or not much air. And all of these things kind of help to change what that water vapor is doing.
Right.
And when we get enough of this water vapor pushed together, they'll actually start to fall droplets, and these droplets will then fall as rain.
Gotcha.
So there's no holes, it's basically these little mists getting pushed closer together until they fall into big droplets of water.
That you could actually see when it gets big enough.
Yeah,
Which
exactly.
you do, because that's when it falls, you see droplets of it.
Yeah, and if you think about maybe if you have a shower, and we know that steam is basically water vapor. If you have a shower, sometimes you'll see the walls in the shower get all steamy, but they don't have any water droplets. And then after a while, you might start to see the water droplets coming down as more and more of that water vapor comes together and makes bigger droplets.
Yep. Okay.
So that's how we get our rain.
So it's no actual hole opens up in the cloud like you see in like cartoons and stuff?
Yeah.
So that doesn't happen?
No.
Oh, that'd be cool.
There's no little dude up there with a bucket just tipping it out.
The Lord of the Sky.
So I thought that was a really good question, and it's what we love is we love kids asking questions for things that can be a bit confusing, because unless you've
Definitely.
been told about how it works, it's really hard. So we love to hear these kind of questions and to be able to help kids to discover these new kind of answers for their questions.
I hear it's weird sometimes when you get these questions from kids and you go, wow, I've never thought about that before.
Yeah, but
I mean, I thought about how rain falls, obviously, but there's certain ways of thinking that are so fundamental, and you go, that's like an ingenious way to
Yeah,
ask that
absolutely.
question.
And sometimes even though something might be wrong, what they've done is taken the idea and put it into what seems like a logical explanation. And often that's really great. That's a great way to try and come up with an answer for things. And sometimes it actually makes sense, but it might not be the correct thing, but it does actually make sense.
Like logical sort of progression.
Which is great. And that's what whatever science is all about. Learning new things, isn't it?
Yep.
Awesome.
Beautiful. Well, is that a wrap on Fizzics TWIST for this week, Quill?
I think it is a wrap for this week.
All right. Well, thank you, listeners, for joining us.
Yeah.
And hope you like their stories. Hope you like their fact of the week. And also, don't forget to check out the Fizzics Education podcast, the official one, hosted by Ben Newsom.
Our lovely boss.
Our lovely boss is a very nice man. And I guess we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, and if you enjoyed what you heard today, don't forget to rate us.
On iTunes.
On iTunes.
It helps.
It helps us. Or tell your friends if you enjoyed listening. And yeah, we'll catch you next week.
Bye.
Bye.